Former U.S. President Donald Trump stood before the White House press corps and did something no American leader had ever done before. He branded Britain an unreliable ally, labeled its government a threat to the United States, and issued a chilling ultimatum: obey Washington's line, or face the consequences. The special relationship, once the bedrock of Western unity for nearly 80 years, now lies in ruins. And this time, there may be no way to repair it. The next 72 hours will decide whether Britain still holds any claim to being a global power. Under the shadow of the American flag in Washington, Trump stared straight into the cameras and called out Prime Minister Keir Starmer not as a friend, but as, in his words, a man who betrayed the United States of America. He accused Starmer's government of meddling in the 2024 election, of disrespecting the American people, and of crossing a line that, in Trump's view, could never be uncrossed. Then came the warning shot: Britain would pay a heavy price for its disloyalty. According to White House insiders, none of this was spontaneous. It was a calculated and rehearsed offensive, planned for weeks and delivered with surgical precision. Trump's communications team had prepared every line, coordinated with media outlets, and quietly briefed foreign allies behind closed doors. By the time Trump took the podium, everything was in place. The message was deliberate and devastating. It was, in essence, the public dismantling of Britain's privileged status, and Trump made sure the whole world saw it happen. The fallout was instant. Within minutes of his speech, Foreign Secretary David Lammy was spotted racing into 10 Downing Street, surrounded by aides and security officers. Emergency meetings were called. The pound plummeted against the dollar. London's trading floors went into a frenzy. Then came the political aftershocks online. Nigel Farage was the first to react, posting within seconds, "Trump is absolutely right." He accused Starmer of embarrassing Britain and destroying its most important alliance. That single post spread like wildfire, racking up over 100,000 shares in under an hour. He wasn't alone. Elon Musk, followed by more than 200 million people, echoed Trump's message, calling the Labour government anti-American, anti-freedom, and a danger to Western values. Social media turned into a battlefield, and the shockwaves were felt in real time. What many failed to grasp was that markets don't move on words, they move on power. The instant Trump branded Britain disloyal, investors understood the implications. The pound dropped 0.5% almost immediately. The London Stock Exchange was flooded with sell orders, especially targeting defense and automotive firms. The reason was obvious. Trump had just hinted at economic retaliation. "We're reviewing all trade agreements with countries that fail to respect the United States," he declared, pausing for effect. Some governments and some leaders are about to learn what that really means. Everyone knew who he was talking about. Analysts began pricing in 25% tariffs on British steel, cars, and manufacturing exports, billions of pounds in potential losses forming before anyone could react. Inside Downing Street, chaos reigned. Leaked briefings revealed deep divisions within the cabinet. Some ministers urged the Prime Minister to apologize and seek a direct call with Washington. Others warned that any apology would look like surrender, confirming Britain's waning influence. One senior advisor was overheard saying, "If Trump imposes sanctions, we're facing economic isolation." The Prime Minister's position might become impossible. Starmer was trapped. Every option was a disaster. Apologize, and he looks weak. Confront Trump, and he risks escalation. Stay silent, and the crisis spirals out of control. It was a political snare carefully constructed by Trump's team, and it was working perfectly. Meanwhile, the British press went for the jugular. Front pages blazed with headlines like, "Trump accuses Britain of betrayal, special relationship shattered, and Starmer loses America." Every hour without a clear government response made Downing Street look more lost, more desperate, and increasingly powerless. Let's be honest, no US president has ever humiliated a British Prime Minister so publicly. Not even during the Suez Crisis, when Eisenhower forced a retreat. Not during the Iraq War, when Bush and Blair divided the world. Not even during Trump's first term, when he openly clashed with Theresa May. This is unprecedented and deliberate. Trump is redefining American foreign policy around one word: loyalty. In his worldview, nations that show loyalty are rewarded with trade, defense, and privilege. Those that don't are punished. And to Trump, Starmer failed that loyalty test the moment labor figures allegedly interfered in the 2024 election. But Trump wasn't finished. He escalated the confrontation, turning a diplomatic crisis into a political earthquake. During the same press event, he praised Nigel Farage, calling him a real leader and a true friend of the American people. Think about that. The President of the United States publicly endorsed the leader of Britain's opposition while condemning its sitting Prime Minister. That wasn't diplomacy. That was political warfare, regime change by endorsement. And Farage, never one to miss an opportunity, moved fast. Within hours, he launched a media blitz across both American and British networks, repeating one simple message: Starmer broke the alliance. Only new leadership can rebuild it. The impact was immediate. Trump began reposting Farage's interviews and labeling him a true friend of America. The symbolism couldn't be clearer. In Trump's political universe, Farage now was Britain, and Starmer had been erased from the map. Inside Westminster, panic spread like wildfire. Reform UK, once a fringe movement, suddenly began climbing in the polls. Political analysts were openly discussing the unthinkable, a Farage premiership. Trump may have just made that possibility real. What started as a feud between two governments was quickly morphing into a full-blown British political crisis. The Labour government now found itself under siege from the markets, from the press, and from within its own party. Britain, once America's closest partner, was now adrift, isolated, uncertain, and watching the pillars of its foreign policy crumble in plain sight. This isn't just a diplomatic dispute. It's a reckoning, a test of what Britain means in a world where America's friendship is no longer guaranteed. And for Keir Starmer, it's a test he may not survive. Reform UK is gaining momentum faster than anyone predicted. The idea of Nigel Farage as a legitimate contender for Prime Minister is no longer fantasy, it's being openly debated in Westminster. And it's no accident Donald Trump made it possible. While Britain slept, Washington acted. Sources close to the White House say Trump's inner circle worked through the night drafting a package of executive actions directly aimed at the United Kingdom. Behind closed doors, they're calling it a recalibration of loyalty. In plain language, economic warfare. According to multiple leaks, the proposed measures include 25% tariffs on British steel and car exports, restrictions on UK firms bidding for US defense contracts, and even a review of the Five Eyes intelligence sharing alliance. That last measure is especially alarming. The Five Eyes network, linking the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, forms the backbone of Western intelligence. It's how these nations share classified data, counter-terrorism intelligence, and cyber defense coordination. If Britain is cut out, it would lose access to the most powerful intelligence network in the world. Security experts are already calling this the greatest threat to British national security since the Cold War. But perhaps the most sobering truth is this: no one is coming to Britain's defense. Across Europe, quiet repositioning is underway. France and Germany have already begun back-channel talks with Washington, trying to secure their own relationships before the storm hits them next. Even Britain's closest Commonwealth allies, Canada and Australia, have fallen silent. Diplomatic cables from Ottawa and Canberra reportedly instruct their embassies to avoid public support for the UK until the crisis stabilizes. In diplomatic language, that's as close as it gets to saying, you're on your own. And the European Union is staying neutral. Brussels remembers Trump's first term all too well: the tariffs, the insults, the threats to NATO. They're not stepping into this fight. Britain hasn't been this isolated since 1940. The difference? Back then, America came to the rescue. This time, America is the threat. Inside Number 10, the atmosphere is described as suffocating. Every attempt to reach the White House has failed. U.S. officials have been ordered not to engage with British diplomats. For a nation that once called itself America's closest ally, the silence is deafening. Within the Labour Party, the fractures are widening. Leaked transcripts describe shouting matches between senior ministers, some urging Starmer to step down to calm the markets, others demanding a unity government to stabilize the crisis. And as Britain stares into the abyss, one thing is becoming clear: this is more than a diplomatic fallout. It's the beginning of a global realignment, and Britain, for the first time in generations, may be on the outside looking in.